Thank you so much, Charlotte and Nicholas, for joining me today to talk about Avon Players' production of The Diary of Anne Frank. How are you two doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm amazing.
You're just a few weeks out from opening night. Charlotte, how's that rehearsal process been so far?
It's wonderful. We've finished the whole show and now we've just been running it over and over again, and it's a very positive environment and it's incredible.
That has to be such a cool feeling to finally get it all the way through that first time and then just kind of fine tuning it from there.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, how's that been for you?
It's been amazing. It's a whole new experience for me, and I'm loving every minute of it.
You said whole new experience. Is this like one of your first times playing in a show?
This is my first Avon show,
Okay.
so that's a whole thing.
Well,
And it's
welcome.
my first lead role, I would say. So it's so exciting.
Avon Players does some amazing work, so that's awesome that you get to be a part of that. And
Mhm.
what a story, too. I mean, this is quite a recognizable story, one of the most recognizable stories from World War II. Um, while most of us probably know it, Charlotte, what's kind of the story of the Diary of Anne Frank for the show?
So there's this family, the Frank family, that they go and hide in this secret annex above the dad's office. They're hiding from the Nazis. They're Jewish. They don't want to get taken away. They don't want anything to happen to them. So they're hiding in this annex with a group of other people, other family, one other man, and they live in this annex for 2.5 years before they get discovered and taken away.
It's a pretty heavy story. Nick, what made you decide you wanted to audition for this show?
Well, I do the shows at my school, and I
Sure.
actually hadn't gotten a role, and it was a last ditch effort to still do some theater stuff, and I came in. I had learned about the show the night before, and I was 12 o'clock cramming lines in my bed, just trying to memorize for the audition. It was nerve-wracking.
I can imagine that's probably a lot of stuff to shove into your head very quickly.
Yes.
Charlotte, what drew you to wanting to be in the Diary of Anne Frank?
Well, I read the book a couple years ago and I loved it. Like I connected to it. So then when I found out Avon was doing this in May or so, I saw it and I was really, really excited about it because I really wanted to audition for it. Like I even started learning German for it, just in
Oh,
case that
wow.
helped. And then so I guess I've just always been attached to this story. And when I found out that I could have a chance to audition for it, that was really, really important to me.
What jumped out to you about the story that you're like, oh, this is something that you either relate to or just something that really spoke to you about it?
It was just that there was a girl my age that we have a very similar personality, so it was seeing myself in her book.
Absolutely. So you're playing Anne Frank. I think that
Yes.
you're playing the title character. While this is a very ensemble piece, this is mostly like kind of from her perspective. Um, what do you feel like is Anne's personal narrative throughout the show?
Anne's personal narrative is it's all from her diary, so it's all about what she might not say out loud to the rest of the world. Yes, sometimes she says things that she speaks her mind, but there are some things she can't say out loud, so she puts it in her diary, and it's all about what's in her diary, and that's how she communicates with the audience.
So it's almost like a lot of monologuing.
Yes, a lot.
Okay. How is that for you? Like that one-on-one with the audience in that way? What is that like?
It's really unique, because there's lots of times where the director wants me to actually go and, like, look at a specific audience member and speak a specific line to them, so it's a lot of fun being not just a narrator and just blank face and telling the story, but telling my story, which that is a lot of fun.
All right, Nick, who are you playing in this show?
I play Peter Van Dan. He is the son of the Van Dan family, who's also hiding with the Franks in the
Okay.
annex.
What's kind of his narrative throughout the show, hiding within this, with this other family?
Well, he starts out very just Peter's a very shy kid. He's just not used to hiding away like this. He's not used to loud people like Charlotte, not just Anne Frank, Charlotte in general. Um, but he's very shy, and then over the course of the story, he kind of grows out of his shell, and it's a very, I think, interesting thing to watch.
What's his motivator throughout the show?
I would say what motivates Peter is, I don't know. That's actually interesting. I can tell you later on, it definitely becomes Anne and their bond they form together. But earlier on, I would say maybe just survival.
Sure. I mean, which is understandable. Like at this point in the world history, survival was pretty much the first motivator for everybody in this situation.
Oh yeah,
So it sounds like the two of you get to play off each other quite a bit in this show.
yes we do.
So kind of like what is it? What is the dynamic like working with each other? With the characters dynamic with each other? How that kind of builds throughout the show?
Yeah. So at first, Anne, it's like a big adventure for her. And then the thought of living in this place with other people is just amazing. It's wonderful. And like she wants to befriend Peter, but he's kind of like keep my distance from her. And then as the show goes on, they grow to like each other. So it's it's fun because I work best when I'm acting with other people. Like I can do monologues, but I
Sure.
work best acting with other people and playing off of other people. So it makes scenes easier for me.
And Nick, how is it to kind of bounce off of each other for this? It sounds like there's quite the tension at first, maybe before they become friends.
Yes. It's a lot of fun, especially in the first act. It's very just butting heads a lot. We're very just against each other, and then it totally flips on the head during the second act. But it's a lot of fun just to have that person that's like, "Ah, I don't like you," and it just totally flips.
Absolutely, and it shows how like a common problem can unify people no matter what. They're both trying to survive, and that can make us go from not maybe liking each other to being friends, or at least not enemies.
Yeah.
Um, so with these characters, Charlotte, I'll start with you. You have Anne Frank who's on the page. Do you have a specific process for developing your character to bringing it to the stage?
Yeah. So, well, first I read her diary a couple of times, and then I go and I'll watch some other videos of Anne Frank, other actresses, and like their interpretations of Anne Frank, and I can pick and choose the pieces that I like of other actresses and my own story, and then I can put it together to find my version of Anne Frank.
And Nick, what's your process?
I like connecting with the people around me, especially in this show, and it helps give me a better view on how I believe Peter changes throughout the story. Just being in it helps, but like replaying these scenes over again and really getting to know the people that I'm with this whole time, it helps me learn and gain a better understanding with how I want him to kind of grow throughout the story.
Charlotte kind of mentioned about reading the diary and stuff like that. For you, Nick, do you feel like because these are based on real people that your development process of the character changes at all because there's like somebody who actually lived this story?
It's definitely different, especially with like make believe characters and stuff like that, to where there is a
Mhm.
grain of, not even a grain, there's a lot of realism that goes into it. Peter Van Daan was a real person, and that does really play a large part into who he is.
Sure. Absolutely. Is there a pressure to stepping into a story like this that is real?
Definitely, I would say. It's because with other stories and stuff like that, you can really interpret it and say certain things in different ways. With this is something that actually happened. It's based on a true part of history,
Sure.
and there's a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but there is a wrong way, I would say, to do this show, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Right, because there's someone real to base it off of that like
Mhm.
kind of is dictating a certain part of this. Charlotte, for you, is you've read the diary, you said multiple times, you're kind of seeing the story, but I'm sure there's aspects of Anne that you're kind of having to fill in the blanks a little bit. How
hmm
do you kind of make Anne your own while also staying really true to who she is, both in her diary and in the play?
Well, like I said, Anne is we have a very similar personality, and
Hmm.
the thing with her and her sister is they're kind of they're very different, and that's how I am with my siblings. So I can take that, like, sibling, um, and build from there because her and her sister, like, they love each other, but they're kind of also butting heads the whole time. So and that's what I do with my siblings. So
For sure,
just
right?
to yeah, um, just finding that relationship with her siblings and her mom and her dad and the people around her are very similar to relationships I have in my own life with my siblings, my parents, people around me.
So a lot of that filling in the gap is kind of the relationships that Anne
Yes.
has in this her story. Okay. With this being a show that has such heavy topics, how do you feel like the play approaches the tone of Anne's story, Nick?
I would say it's a lot it's a lot of hope.
Okay.
The show the show, even though can be sad and scary and dark at times, I feel like it always kind of comes back to there's this hope in all of their hearts that in the end they make it out and they're able to go back to a normal life. And it's what keeps them together. And even though they struggle, they fight, this hope keeps them where they are.
I absolutely love that because I remember reading Anne Frank back in school as well. And there is, for such a dark time, she's a very, like, she has a lot of hope about the situation and about getting out and being safe. And so, like, just for you to be able to pick up on that, like, that, I think that's a really great way that they kind of balance those tones of like, this is heavy, but like, we can have a little bit of sugar to go along with that.
Mhm.
Charlotte, how has this role challenged you as an actor? How has it kind of pushed you to be better at your craft?
She is a very big kind of person, her personality. She doesn't hold anything back. When she tells something, she always tells the truth. She it's she's always putting on like a story, like putting on a face
Sure.
for the world to see, but at the same time when she's like with people, but at the same time in her diary, that's when it's like the big, like this is what she truly feels. And I've never had to go that deep with a
Sure.
character before. Like she has very different personalities. It's not just like, oh, he's happy, 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 or angry. It's like she's very different. Depend like as the story goes on, she gets more mature. Like it's just she's always very different people.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's very like she grows in a very formative like age bracket, where there's a lot of
Yes.
emotions that go with that on top of the situation that she's living through. So it's kind of cool that you get to dive into that a little bit and explore different emotional depths that it sounds like maybe you haven't hit in a character before so far.
Yes.
How about for you, Nick? How has this challenged you to be a better actor?
It's definitely made me step into bigger shoes. Like I
Sure.
said before, this is one of the biggest roles I have ever had in a show, and it's just I don't want to. It's a lot to take in all at once, but I'm so glad that it's all happening. If that makes any sense.
No, I mean, that's the way to do it, right? To be grateful for it, even if it's scary,
Hmm.
We all get scared about something, I'm sure every time you step up on the stage, that first little bit right before the show begins is nerve wracking.
It's always, at least for me, it's always opening night. Even though you've done it a couple times before, it's always that opening night that's most scary. But then you realize it's all just what you've done before again and again and again. Now you just got people watching you.
You're both braver than I. I've never acted before, and I don't know if I could do what you guys are doing on stage, especially on opening night. So, um, Charlotte, Nick had mentioned about this theme of like hope that's kind of going through there. But are there any other themes from the Diary of Anne Frank that resonate the most with you?
Apart from the hope, it's just the fear almost where they can never leave and almost like desperation. Like Anne needs to leave. She needs the outside, but she doesn't have it, and the fear that any minute they could be taken and put through who knows what. So it's like the fear of the unknown.
It's intense. How do you sit with that when you're in the show?
Um the fear is different. exactly know how to sit with that because I've
Okay.
never done anything like that. But with almost the desperation, like I was very young when COVID happened, but it's kind of the same thing where it's like never leaving. Like, yes, you can leave, but you can't see other people. You can't
Mm.
do what you normally do. So it's like that desperation of wanting something that just isn't there anymore.
That's a great analogy. And that's absolutely kind of, it's a very similar situation of that feeling of being trapped, of a
Hmm.
situation that you're afraid of what's going to be on the outside. Um, and not knowing what to do with that. So that's a great way to kind of pull for that. Um, Nick, I know you already mentioned the hope. Is there any other themes that speak to you?
Definitely. I think there's a big theme of love in this show throughout many people, between Peter and Anne, between my parents, between her parents. There's just this bond that all holds us together. And though it's also hope, love also plays a giant thing into it, that we all deep down, even though we fight, we bicker, we all love each other.
And you think about it, those all kind of tie together.
Hmm.
Love can help conquer fear and it brings hope. And it sounds like this is truly a story about two families kind of becoming a singular family
Hmm.
together in the space that they didn't hope that they ever had to be in. And that's hopeful in and of itself. Then speaking of hope, then just one final question for both of you is what are you hoping audiences take away from this production? And Charlotte, I'll start with you.
Hope that they'll take away not just the feeling of hope in like a bigger situation, but they'll realize how big this actually was. Like this was one of the darkest times in history, and like to realize actually how important this was, like not just from reading Anne's diary, but actually seeing it unfold in front of them, like how big and how real this was.
Because it changes the experience. It's a lived in experience then,
Yes.
getting to see somebody live through it is not the same as reading it. And I'm sure you both know it's like reading a play is totally different than seeing a play, all the
Yeah.
emotion that comes through that.
Hmm.
Nick, how about for you? What are you hoping audiences take away from this production of The Diary of Anne Frank?
I hope that people are able to see more than just, oh, this was a bad time. Though it was a very bad time, the people in it were very strong and they tried to do as much as they could. And I think there's this big message of is that even when times are hard, there's always this strength in people and in like perseverance.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the two of you. It's been such a pleasure talking with both of you about this production, and we cannot wait to see it.
I'm excited for people to see it as well.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Of course. The Diary of Anne Frank runs at Avon Players November 7th through the 22nd, so get your tickets now and we'll see you at the show.